Hello and welcome to Talk a Good Game. It's match preview of West Ham United against Wolves. 18 taking on 17th in the league. Big game for both managers and for both teams as well. Gonzo, can you kick it off as always with your thoughts on Wolves, please?
Yeah, I think Wolves have done a bloody good job, really, over the last few years. They were always grew up with them, I guess, being spoken about as a sleeping giant. But I sort of lived most of my life with Wolves out of the top division. So they were very much a sleeping giant the previous generations might talk about or whatever. They were never, I think there was a point that Graham Taylor got them promoted and they dabbled in the top division for a little bit. Maybe I remember it wrong. I don't, but they were never up for any sort of length of time.
Hibernating giant.
Hibernating giant. Nice. Yeah, why not? And just more like a hibernating medium-sized club, if you like. But no, you know what they got? They're a club of rich history and tradition. And this is the first time, in many respects, I talk about Crystal Palace. Their peak time for me is now. This is their longest stint I can remember in the top division. I'm sure the stats probably bear that out without going back to the 1950s or something, whenever their heyday was. I think they've done really, really well. I think the expectation, considering their first season back in the Premier League, was that was it. They were brilliant. They spent a lot of that first season, I think, in and around the top six, certainly. And I think it was a case of what are they going to push on and do. So they might feel that they've dropped a little bit, but just to remain in the Premier League is a magnificent achievement, really.
Yeah, my earliest memory of them is with the likes of Matt Jarvis and Kevin Doyle and that Stephen Fletcher, that lot in the team. That's my first memory of Wolves being in the top flight. Boring. A boring team now. When they first came back up with Nuno, I thought, oh, here we go. No, honestly, I find them boring now. I think they were a breath of fresh air. I thought they played fast attacking football. Jota on one side of the wings. They had Traore, who was effective at that time in the Premier League. Jimenez up front, scoring all the goals. Neves was almost like a superstar in the Premier League at the time. I mean, he still is, though. And Moutinho in there, and they had a really good team, played some really nice football under Nuno. And I was envious of them. You know, they got into European football, and I thought, bloody hell, there's a good club. There's a club going places that's accelerated through the years of progression really, really quickly. Mendes, the super agent, was like, wow, can we have one of them for West Ham, please? Because this guy's just bringing quality to the club that they probably shouldn't have been getting, but they were getting because of that relationships they built up. And I was jealous. I thought, there's a club that looks stable, playing good, attractive football. Then it just got a bit stale under Nuno, and then it turned boring pretty quickly. And in his final season there, they weren't fun to watch anymore. The entertainment factor disappeared. They were quite easy to play against as well. And I felt it was the right thing to do to part ways with Nuno. He'd done his job. He took them up. He kept them up, stabilised the club. Happy days now for somebody new to take them up another level. And then when Bruno Lage rocked up, I'd never heard of him. And in his first few months, I was really impressed by him, Gonzo. Yeah. They were playing sort of possession-based football, a breath of fresh air compared to what we saw from Nuno. And he was getting the best out of Neves. I thought Neves tailed off a little bit under Nuno towards the end, but he was back in sparkling form. I thought, here we go. He's getting the best out of his players. He's trying to go in a different direction. He's trying to bin off a couple of players like Adama Traore. He thought, right. And I could see what he was trying to do. But the second half of last season, they were just boring again. It was almost like stat padding. We'll just knock it about for the sake of knocking it about. And they've started this season in the same way. When we all did our most people did their sort of Premier League prediction table with absolutely no logic behind it whatsoever, other than just pure vibes, because that's all you've got to go on at the start of the season. I had Wolves right down at the bottom. Then were Southampton. I thought one of those might get relegated. Yeah. You think one big team might go down this season? I don't disagree with you. Wolves were in my consideration because the way they finished last season was dreadful. Now, since I did that thought process, they had then gone and recruited a couple of players. But the evidence so far is they're just, honestly, Gonzo, I've seen them a few times this season. Every time I've seen them, boring. They're not playing well. They've got some really talented players, some nice players that are keeping the ball. Yeah. But it's almost like they're keeping it for the sake of keeping it. They're just knocking it about without really creating anything. Bruno Lage is currently under pressure. What's your sort of opinion on the Wolves, Gaffer?
I don't really have one, to be fair. which I know is not particularly good for a Wolves preview video, is it? But one of the few teams I've seen play 90 minutes, aside from West Ham, this season, actually, Geo. I actually watched the Man City and Wolves game. And actually, they didn't start badly in that game. I thought they were passing it around quite nicely. You're absolutely right. They almost got little clones of the same player. They all doing this sort of similar. They're all sort of little and skillful. And Donko would get him out of there. Cody would get him out of there. Traore, yeah, you might not be tall, but you're a bit bulky for my liking. We'll get you out of there. So you've got all these sort of pedants and Neto and I know Neves is not tiny, but you understand what I mean. The new guy, Nunes, are all sort of little munchkins running around doing their stuff, but they're technically very good. And I did look at it. I think I there was a few I looked at. I thought you could probably take one individually, take one of those out and put them in the Man City team and not notice an awful lot of difference. So they would probably be Pep type players, if you know what I mean. The manager, I don't know. I know he changed the formation when he came in. Last season and whatnot, but they I guess they had to do something, didn't they? With they lost the guy that was it Nuno lost him to Tottenham, of course, didn't they? And that didn't work out and whatnot. So hey, look, I do wonder what I think he's taken the physicality out of the team basically, and he's removed the leader as well. And when you do that stuff, then you leave yourself open to criticism. So you better get it right. If you take the captain and you go and loan him to somebody else who basically on the previous week was probably level on points to you and now's above you, and he starts playing well and your defense starts looking shaky, then you're going to have issues. If so I guess we're about to find out quite how good or bad he is, really.
If you're a Wolves fan, apologies for this battering that you're getting, but it's our honest opinion. If you're a West Ham fan, there's a lot of similarities between Wolves and West Ham at the minute. There's a lot of similarities between opinions on Bruno Lage and David Moyes, which is he has his favourites. The form isn't too different. Wolves have got 4 wins in their last 21 win in their last 14 Premier League games coming into this one. West Ham is 2 wins in 14 Premier League games coming into this one. One of them was against Norwich, though, almost doesn't count. So very similar bits of form between the two clubs and very similar grumblings between the two fan bases towards the manager. Do you think they can get relegated?
Oh yeah. Oh, for sure. For sure. Someone's going. Someone's going. I'll tell you that. Leicester, Wolves, someone's going. Someone's going. They definitely can. And the one thing I would say is, and one thing I said about everybody else, not just saying it because it's Wolves. I've said it in every other preview when you've asked that question. It's about goals. Can you score goals? And I think that would be your similar grumble that you're going to get with both clubs at the moment. They appear not to be able to score goals. And what they've got to do is look within their squad and think, where are those goals going to come from? If you're relying on Daniel Podence, who I think is a fine player, and when you ask me in a minute, I will say Daniel Podence. But if you're relying on him to provide the main body of your goals...
That's why you brought in Diego Costa, isn't it?
Yeah, it might be good for a fight. I don't know how many goals he'll score. But you sort of look at West Ham. Well, I do. I look at West Ham and I hope. I think actually there's, Bowen will start scoring. Antonio will start scoring. We sort of... Skamaka would have to start playing first. But, Podence and Paqueta, there's going to be hopefully goals to come from. You look at our team, and particularly our set plays, and we're almost waiting for a load of proven Premier League goal scorers and proven ways to score and to happen. I don't look at Wolves and see a lot of proven routes to goal.
Yeah, well, that's why they brought in Kladic, isn't it? Big summer signing, got injured within minutes of his debut, and he's out for a very long time. Hence why they've hit the panic button and got Diego Costa. But you look at the players on paper; they should be scoring goals, but for me, it's creating chances. It's very well bringing in Costa to stick the ball in the net, but it's getting the ball to Costa to stick it in the net that I think they're having problems with. On paper, they should be scoring for fun to some extent. Like you said, Podence, they've also got Hwang, Neto in there as well. They've got just signed out Guedes, who I've not seen enough of, but they spent big money on him to bring him in to be the provider or the goal scorer. It's just not working for them. I mean, I do think, if people consider West Ham being a relegation battle, you have to consider Wolves being a relegation battle and vice versa. For me, at the minute, I don't see it as a relegation battle. I think it's too early. 7 games into Premier League is not really what I would describe as teams down the bottom fighting for it. I think yes, when it's teams that you expect to be down the bottom are down the bottom already. I think like Bournemouth, with the greatest respect, you look at them, you think, yeah, they're in trouble. But if these clubs leave it to match day 14 and they're in the same position, and then I'll consider them in the relegation battle. But there's warning signs there for Wolves and West Ham and, like you said, Leicester City and Southampton, which is you're down the bottom so far. Something's not quite working. You've got a few weeks to sort it out and work it out. But this is where the club that dithers with the managerial decision might find themselves going through that trapdoor. And I think if Wolves were to hang on to Bruno Lage, I think they may find themselves in that bottom three. Whereas I think if they twist and get a new manager in, I think they may well stay up. They should stay up. They've got a really good squad there. You look at that squad, and I know people say there's no such phrase as too good to go down. You look at West Ham, we've shown that. But I still think there's an element of truth in the phrase too good to go down. And I look at the Wolves team and I think that is too good to go down. You get the right manager in, they'll stay up. And it won't even be a difficult job. No. If they get a good manager in, they will stay up comfortably. And they will probably go in and possibly even finish in the top 10 in the Premier League. It's only matched 7 games in so far. So they can still have a relatively strong season. I'm just not sure Bruno Lage is the man that's going to deliver that.
I could keep them up.
You probably could, actually, to be honest with you. Just start playing the better players rather than your favourite players.
Well, I'd do both. Traore be in there.
That's kind of, apart from him, that's kind of the theme of the video, really, isn't it? Stop playing your favourite players. Wolves, West Ham.
Absolutely. Yeah.
It's the theme of the video. Anyway, before we get on to the players we admire, we've given you a few indications so far. Spitch has sponsored this video, so it's not only David Moyes and Bruno Lage needs to get a finger out this weekend and stop playing their favourites. It's me as well, because Gonzo's beating me 3-2 on the head-to-head. Now, before I reveal my team, you can download the Spitch app in the link in the description below, which is free to download, free to sign up. It's free to play games. And I'm going after the £250 this week in a free-to-play Premier League Classic game. I want to win it. I want to win the money. Now, what we're going to do next week on Hammers Chat, we're going to put a little prize up for grabs. The winner of next week's, not this weekend, next weekend, so people can download it and get a bit of a tutorial, if you like, how Spitch works. Work it out this weekend, because next week we're going to put a prize up for grabs. Whoever wins the Hammers Chat League will win something. It won't be anything big, a signed photograph or something. But anyway, Gonzo, would you like to see my team?
I don't care. It doesn't matter to me. I'm going to win anyway. Put it up.
Yeah, right. Here you go. Here's my team. I've switched formation. I've gone to 4-3-3. I've got Rhea of Brentford in goal. My back four, I've got Anderson, Dyer, Tarkowski, and Trippier. A back four you would never play in real life, because you would never play Anderson left back. In my midfield trio, I've got Yates, Harrison, and Maddison. And up front, I've got Aland, Ivan Toney, and Jared Bowen. And I've captained Ivan Toney for this weekend. What are you thinking?
I think you're rearranging the chairs on the Titanic, mate. It doesn't matter what you do. Switch it around all you want.
Do you not like my curveball of Yates?
Not really.
I bet there's
that's a bar, isn't it?
Less than 1% of people that have him in their team this weekend. But
there's probably a reason for that.
No, I'll tell you why I've got him in, though. In terms of headers in the Premier League this season at goal, Yates is up near the top, and Leicester are dreadful at set pieces. So I'm hoping for a little bit of Yates getting on the end of a corner and winning me some points. Plus, he'll do all the tackles and stuff in midfield, which racks up the points up against James Maddison. So I'm confident about my team. And I've gone under budget, which means a start on plus points.
Well, there you go. I don't worry about such things, mate. I'm the Abramovich of fantasy football. Don't worry about it, mate.
You are.
Have a spend up.
Players your mayor from Wolves.
Podence. No, he's very good. I really like him. Quick, tricky. Really, Tinio's still being there is really good, but there he is. Neves doing their stuff still. Really good. I like Neto as well. He's a good player. And Kilman's a good player. He absolutely is. I know you spotted him first, but he's a good player. He got a run around. He really got a run around against City, but I'm not going to hold that against him or anyone else, quite frankly.
I better say, you had Neves play next to him for most of the game, though.
It was, because he got suckered into that, didn't he? That Collins, that was, as you see, complaining afterwards. What? Well, I know you might not like Jack Grealish, but it definitely was a foul. But it wasn't just that. It was, Haaland was just an absolute nightmare. But I do like him. I think he's a very good player. And of course, the best player can't get in the team at the moment, Geo. So that's a massive issue for them. And I hope we don't see him. I hope we do not see Adama Traore. We probably won't.
There's two partnerships for me. It's Kilman and Collins. I think they're both really good centre backs on their own. I think as a partnership, they're fabulous. And Wolves have invested in that area of the pitch, and they've now got a very long. In 5 years' time, they could still be playing at the heart of the Wolves' defence. Actually, and I think Kilman's a future captain for Wolves as well. I think he's unbelievable, actually. I think he's very, very underrated. Doesn't get the plaudits he deserved. I think Collins is a very clever signing for them as well. Then it's the midfield partnership of Nunes and Neves. We were late to Nunes. We went after Nunes, but couldn't get him. Didn't want to come to West Ham. Went to Wolves instead, and looks a good player. It looks like we've missed out on someone there. And he was sort of tipped as somebody that Pep was eyeing up for the future, and Wolves have gone in and got him first. Another really good signing in that transfer market for them. But I'll tell you, one player I'm intrigued by, Gonzo. I'm intrigued. I'm looking forward to seeing him more in the Premier League this season. Not on Saturday, but later on. And that's Traore. Not your one, Boubacar Traore. Another, a very under-the-radar signing for them, actually. Centre midfielder, and he's come on. When I've seen him playing glimpses, he hasn't played that much yet, but when he has played, gets stuck in, but also wants to move the ball forward, which is something Wolves are just lacking at the minute. Real big presence in the middle of the pitch, and you can see that being Wolves' midfield three towards the end of the season of Neves, Nunes and Traore in there, and Moutinho needs phased out anyway given his age, but a real athletic player, and somebody that, like I said, I've only seen him briefly, but one of those players like when you see them for the first time, think, wow, who's this guy, where's he come from, because that is impressive. And Traore had that impact on me when I saw the glimpses of him.
Fake Traore.
Yeah, the good
Sounds
one.
like a Pornhub video, doesn't it?
Yeah, good Traore, that one.
It's a good video. Anyway.
Would you like to move on to the West Ham team?
Yes, please.
We're going to start with a brief bit of team news because there isn't too much to describe, but we are still without Ben Johnson, or we expect to be without Ben Johnson. We're also without Nathan Word, and there's still no word on Harrison Ashby. So we're just going to assume, for the sake of the preview, Ashby is still AWOL or injured. Pick your phrase. It's up to yourself. Right, Gonzo, time to do the team that we would like to see. Not what we think David Moyes will do, what we want to see. And let's start with the formation. How would you like to see us line up?
4 at the back, my friend. 4 at the back.
Completely. It has to be, doesn't it? It just has to be. Right, take me through your goalkeeper and your back four, please.
The goalkeeper is Alphonse Areola.
Why?
I don't know. I just that's
for
my choice.
What it's worth, I've got Areola as well, but I want to know your reasoning because I think Fabianski's had a couple of mistakes, but so's Areola.
Yes, he has, but Areola's 2 mistakes from the same game. And I think Fabianski's managed to spread his 3 mistakes over 3 games. So I think it's hard to call anyone being in form when we're playing as badly as we are. But if anyone is, it's the guy with the 3 victories, which is actually Areola. So Areola's been playing in the winning team, which is the Conference League team. So let's just get him in there. I really did feel that last time we saw Fabianski, he basically was last 2 occasions I've seen him start. I thought we spread panic amongst the defence actually on a couple of occasions. I do not want to see panic. We need all the stability we can get really. So Areola.
I've gone with Areola for 2 reasons. One, he's quicker off his line than Fabianski. Wolves' front 3. I assume they'll stick with a 4-3-3. He might go 4-2-3-1, whatever. Costa probably won't start, so he's going to have somebody playing the false 9, whether it's Podence, Neto, whatever, Huang. They're going to be a fast front 3 for Wolves. There's a chance they're going to be trying to get in behind our defence. So I think having a pacey, the quicker of the 2 off the line in there doesn't help, doesn't do any harm. I actually think Fabianski's had a decent season so far. I don't think there's much difference between the 2 of them in terms of form or at fault. But this weekend, I want to see Moyes rip up his blueprint. I want to see Moyes try something that we can use going forward. And I think this is the perfect opportunity to say, right, now I'm switching over to Areola as my number 1. I'm making drastic changes throughout the team from front to back. Nobody's safe. I'm putting in a team that actually, if it works, could be my team in 10 games' time, essentially. And I think Areola, for that reason, is why I had put him in. And I think we're going to have the same back 4, maybe not the left back, but certainly right backs in the 2 centre backs will be the same. So talk me through them, Gonzo.
Thilo Kehrer is going to be my right back for this game, following his little outing for Germany against England. I'm bringing in Virgil van Dawson in at centre back. And if I tell you what, don't worry about the Areola coming quick off his line. By the way, if they do play Costa, we can play on a halfway line. They can give Costa a head start. Old Dawson will be there. I'll start running now. Off you go, Diego. I'll catch you in a minute. So I think that would be good. We get Dawsonator in there, Kurt Zuma, and sorry, I don't know why I did a raspberry, but I'm going with Emerson.
Yeah, Emerson for me as well, for the pace reasons. I think there's games I prefer Creswell and there's games I prefer Emerson, just because of the speed that Wolves are going to possess on the wings in this game. I'd rather have Emerson at left back, because we saw at times this season, I think Creswell's been fine going forward. He's been decent enough. Defensively, he's been pretty solid. The only time he's looked a little bit suspect is when he's in a race, when there's a sprint. So let's not expose him a little bit on Saturday, which is go keep up with Podence, will you? He's not going to manage it. It's not realistic. Don't hang him out to dry. So I'd put Emerson in for this one. Now, moving up the pitch then, I would like to see 4-3-3, Gonzo. It's sort of my favourite formation in football. I think it comes with a lot of strengths. I think it comes with very little weaknesses, but I think also the formation allows you to cover your weaknesses pretty well too. And I would like to see it played on Saturday. I think we've got the right personnel for 4-3-3. And if anything, I think 4-3-3 is the right formation for the personnel as well. I think there's definitely a correlation between the two there. And Flynn Downs has to start for me. He's got to come into the middle of the pitch. Wolves are going to have a lot of possession. They pass it about. They've got really good players in there at recycling possession. We need to make sure that when we get on the ball, we've got players in there capable of moving about and keeping the ball West Ham, essentially. Flynn Downs does that, but he also provides that cover for the back four as well, because Wolves can play counter-attacking football. So I think having a defensive-minded midfielder in there wouldn't be a bad thing. But does Flynn Downs make it into the Gonzo 11?
He does make it into the Gonzo 11. And I mean, there's a couple of things here on this. I don't think Moyes has anywhere to go if he plays Souček and loses this game. I think it has almost nothing. Don't even bother with a press conference, mate. You have nothing. There's no excuse you can make. I think if you can, if he plays Flynn Downs, it doesn't quite work out. I think he allows himself a little bit of a leeway. Also, you've got to remember, we got 57 games in the month of October as well. So he's going to have to start rotating it around a little bit anyway, because a lot of these players are going to play. You can't keep putting it off saying, I'm not going to play him and just have this favoured starting 11. They got to play now. It starts now. The fixture congestion starts right now. So he needs to...
Arguably, I would argue it's actually already started. Souček's just played 2 games for Czech Republic while Flynn Downs had his feet up.
Absolutely. Yeah, for sure. Well, yeah, it makes sense. And he's got to understand the value of that. So also I like the blend. I like the freedom it affords Declan Rice as well. It's going to allow him to play more as a box-to-box midfielder, Declan. And he's really good for us when he does that. I know you agree that you also think he's a little bit shackled when he plays for England. So, let's get dynamic Declan back as well. And Flynn Downs is going to allow that to happen.
And your other midfield, I'm assuming you're doing 4-3-3, by the way, so your other midfielder.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, it's the guy that's on your T-shirt. Actually, that's Emerson, isn't it, on your T-shirt?
Brazilian Magnifico.
Yeah. Yes, so it's our specialist left back T-shirt. No, it's not. That's our Lucas Paqueta T-shirt. HammersChatStore.com. Go and check it out. It's good stuff in it. Check out the beer mats. Anyway, yes, Paqueta's got to play, and I think that's a lovely blend. All 3 of them. Yeah,
he's got to be deeper, Paqueta. He did it for Brazil against Ghana. Like I said, I didn't watch the game. It was on the Friday night when England were playing, so I watched Italy win that match instead of watching Brazil, and so I couldn't resist slipping that one in. But Paqueta played centre midfield, and I just hope you earn rave reviews after, and the reports coming out were saying Paqueta was sort of running the game for Brazil from that deeper area of the pitch. And I just hope that we had somebody at that game watching thinking, oh, he's not that bad, actually. When he's got a bit of time on the ball, when he's got a bit of space and he's centre midfield, actually, there's something to this. Brazil seem to know what they're doing here with this one. And he played the first half for them as well when they beat Tunisia 5-1. They scored a couple of goals in the first half as well. Again, I didn't watch it, but he played well by all means. So he's got to get in that number 8 role, Paqueta. Let's drop him back, get him on the ball, get him a little bit of space, because this is going to be a very congested midfield. Wolves will have players in there as will we. It could easily be 3v3. And it'll be one hell of a battle, actually. You do have, it won't be Downs, but in theory, if it was Downs, Rice, and Paqueta up against Nunes, Neves, and Moutinho, that's a really good battle in the middle of the pitch. And now your front three, I think this is where it gets crunch time. I think it's a bit of a tap-in. Say no Soufal, no Souček. I think that's quite easy, Gonzo. But when it comes to Jared Bowen, I think it's probably a little bit more difficult. I've got him in my switch team because that's what I think Moyes will do.
Yes.
But it's not necessarily what I would do. So, but what would you do?
I think I'll play Antonio Scamacca, and it's a tough one. It's a tough one, toss up between Cornet and Benrahma, but I think I'm going to go with Cornet for the additional pace.
No, it's Cornet, Benrahma, and Scamacca for me. Antonio's played for Jamaica just
that's a good point.
2 or 3 days ago. When he came back from the one ages ago now, we put on a private plane for him and whatnot, and he looked pooped, understandably. So I would put Scamacca up front for this one, Cornet on the right, Benrahma on the left, who changed. They both changed the game for us against Everton. Yeah. Did we get anything from it? No. But we looked dangerous when them two were on the pitch. Benrahma hit the post. Cornet forced a good save from Begovic. Let's get them two in the team, because a lot of our players are missing a little bit of confidence at the minute, but Benrahma and Cornet aren't. When they're coming on, they are being brave. They are taking one touch and shooting, which is something at the minute Bowen is not doing. Fornals is slow, who usually plays well. To be fair to Fornals, he usually plays well against Wolves. I remember at the London Stadium last season, I thought Fornals was our man of match in a left wing back role. Was the one that played that quick free kick for Jared Bowen at the London Stadium after COVID, remember? When we thumped them 4-0, I think it was. Haller scored that game as well. But Fornals, quick free kick. Bowen got it was his second ever goal for us, then he went on to get his third goal for us in the same game. But yeah, Cornet, Benrahma, and Scamacca. In all honesty, Gonzo, I know Moyes won't do this, but for me, the team practically picks itself. I actually found it, when I started to write down my 11, I didn't stop. I didn't think, decision time. I just wrote it all down. I thought, well, there you go. That's a team I would like to see. I think it's
an attacking team. And you're right. I'd completely forgotten about Antonio and the Jamaica thing. And when you say it like that, yeah, that makes more sense, doesn't it? But you're absolutely right. I'm really intrigued to see what David Moyes does here.
I'm worried.
Well, I'd love. Honestly, I've spoken about this. I want to see some job preservation from him, Geo. I want to see him so desperate to keep his job that he's going to change stuff. He goes for it. Just attack. I don't mean just attack and don't have a defense, but just for him to realise, mate, if you're not careful, you are going to basically defend and withdraw and sit deep your West Ham job away. You're literally gonna your job will evaporate whilst you're sat back defending against every team in the Premier League, and you will look back at it in years to come. And you think, only I'd have just had a go. But I just had a go. We have got so many attacking options now. We're leaving attacking players out when we're picking our teams here. He's got a real opportunity to go for it in whatever formation, whatever guise he deems appropriate. And his reaction to this and how he has spent the last 2 weeks, I think is going to be really interesting. You said, I hope we had somebody at that game. I'd be amazed if David Moyes doesn't know exactly how. I guess Scamacca's different because he played against England. But I'd be amazed if he didn't know exactly how Scamacca played, exactly how Keira played, exactly how Paqueta played. Of course, Cornet's gone, and I think he played as well when he was away.
Antonio, Areola, Souček, Soufal. We have quite a lot of players.
Absolutely. So he's going to know all this stuff. All the footage will be available. They're all recorded international games. Do you know what I mean? Even if he didn't get out there himself, or even if he's chosen 3 or 4 scouts when there, he's got to know. And he's spent time on the training pitch. Just sometimes you've got to gamble. You've got to mix it up a bit. And because the narrative's changed. The narrative has changed. And I've done my video today about that Telegraph article. And I did that without the knowledge, because I did, because we had a chat this morning. I did that without the knowledge that actually almost everyone else had been briefed today as well. The narrative has changed ever so slightly from Moyes' job is 100% safe and he's our manager for the long term to Moyes our manager. We have every faith in him. He needs to change things around quickly. That's a change. That's a switch in emphasis. And that is only because that inactivity of those 2 weeks, people at the club are getting nervous. We're getting nervous as fans. We're getting nervous. And how Moyes responds is going to be really interesting.
I'm really worried, actually. Come 4:30, when the notification on my phone pops up, the lineups are out. I'm actually, before I actually go to push it to reveal the lineup, I'm going to be nervous. I'm going to think, please, 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 because what you've just said will be true in regards to having people at these international games. Again, I have not watched the Czech Republic games, but the Czech Republic fans are all speaking about how crap Souček has been in the 2 internationals, right? So we've had somebody there. They must be reporting back to Moyes going, Souček he's not playing well at the minute. Never mind West Ham, for Czech, he's not playing well for his country either. And when I did the video with Nick made the point that even last season when Souček was poor for West Ham, he was still performing for his country. He would still show up on international duty, be the old Souček, score a goal, happy days, bish bash bosh. But he's not done it this time round either. So we have to take everything into consideration. Moyes is under pressure because A, results, B, he spent a lot of money and the players that have come in they haven't hit the ground running, or he's not integrating them into the team as yet. Against Everton, we had one new signing start the game, which was Thilo Kehrer, it's an easy one because we had to play him. There was no other option. He was an emergency signing, or you get the vibe he was, and he's playing because we've had to, and it's worked. Happy days. But it's not just the signings we've made. It's also about the signings. It's also about Nikola Vlasic. There has to be someone in the boardroom thinking, hang on a minute, that guy's ripping up in Italy. Our manager did nothing with him last season. We've pretty much accepted a £15 million loss on him, or a bit, let's say 10 million. We've pretty much accepted a 10 million hit on this signing. He's ripping it up in Italy. And the manager that couldn't get him to do that is here. He did it in Russia, came to us, did nothing. He's gone to Italy and he's doing it again. So what's the problem? Is it the league or is it the manager? Or what's going on? So there's almost like this Vlasic cloud hanging over him as well. He has to make changes. It's a big game for David Moyes. I'm not going to call it a 6-pointer, Gonzo, because I don't think it is. If we lose this, it doesn't mean we're getting relegated. I still don't think we will get relegated. I wouldn't call it a 6-pointer, but what I would call it is a defining game for David Moyes to some extent. If Moyes was to play the same team and we get beat, he's going to lose a lot of supporters. And I possibly include myself in that, because at the minute, I'm sort of like I said to you, do I want Moyes gone? No, not really, because I think he deserved the chance to turn it around. But do I have faith in David Moyes turning it around? Not really, because for that to happen, I have to have faith that Moyes will start playing the new players. He will start dropping Thomas Souček and Vladimir Coufal in particular. And I don't think he will do that. I think I am fully expecting Coufal right back and Souček centre midfield on Saturday. Now, they might go on and play well, but they're going to at some point through law of averages of anything. You know, you can't. It's hard for a player to be poor for 10 games in a row in the Premier League. They're going to have one or two good ones in that 10 games through law of averages. So even if they have a good game against Wolves, I'm still going to be sceptical, which is, well, yeah, but let's see a little bit of consistency now. A one-off's all very well, but now you've got to go do it the following week and the following week. And that's where I have my doubts. And I think it's massive for David Moyes, actually. And I'm kind of glad the game is at the London Stadium. I know your video earlier, you said Wolves will be saying, get that place to turn on them. But actually, that's kind of why I am glad, because I don't think the fans will accept us sitting back for 90 minutes against Wolves. I think the fans will start, I use the word groaning as to describe the sound rather than the mood, which is the get up the pitch kind of thing. Doesn't mean we're not supporting the players. It just means want to see the team get up the flipping pitch and try and score a goal and win the game kind of thing. So I think huge for David Moyes, actually. A massive, massive game for him, because like I said, if the worst case scenario is he picks his favourites and we lose, the Moyes out calls are going to just increase and increase and increase.
They'll be deafening. They will outnumber the Moyes in noise. There's no doubt about it at all. No doubt about it at all, mate.
Yeah. Big game for Moyes.
Yeah, huge. And just to disagree on your 6 points.
I could tell you disagree. I could tell by your face, but
Yeah, because for me, 6-pointers never particularly meant relegation. Liverpool, Man City can have a 6-pointer. The 6-pointer for me is your whoever you're next to in the league at that given time, and that's why I feel we're right there. They're one place above us. Do you know what I mean? Actually, it's a chance
I define it as
to stretch away.
I don't know. I guess that it depends how you define a 6-pointer. To me, it means crucial that you win for your season aspirations, probably. And I don't think it is. I think we could lose this and still finish in the top half of the Premier League. But I think it's a 6-pointer for David Moyes, if that makes sense, rather than West Ham. I think this is more important for Moyes. I think a lot of people, the vibe I'm getting from the comments on both channels and stuff is there's a lot of fans, which is where I am. I'm firmly in this group, and I think you are too, which is I'm going to wait and see what he does against Wolves. That is, he's had his 2 weeks, he's had the international break, he's had time to reflect on what's gone wrong so far this season. Now we need to see something. We need to see, not a new David Moyes, we need to see a different, whether it's tactics, whether it's team selection or everything, ideally everything. We need to see something different on Saturday. And if we do, great, that's encouragement. Let's just give him the 2 or 3 games after it and see how he gets on. But like I said, if he does the same thing, gets the same results against a team that's, going into this game, West Ham scored 3 goals this season. Wolves have scored 3 goals this season. We're the only 2 teams with less than 6 goals in the Premier League. We've got 6 goals between us. So this is the ideal team for West Ham to play, but it's also the ideal team for Wolves to play. Big game for both managers. Are you confident?
No, but just what you were saying there about that. It's interesting because this is our little window into seeing what David Moyes' psyche is going to be, because it's likely whatever he does, he's then going to do for the next few games, and this is why it's concerning as a fan. So I think if you see against Wolves, there's not new form. It's not formation. Forget formation. Intent. If we see those attacking players, if we see that he's packing a team out, if we see there's an instruction to attack, if we see that he's going for it, that makes us less nervous, because then we know we've got Fulham coming up and Bournemouth and Southampton and so on and so forth, right? So that's great. If what we see is he basically still puts out what I would call a frightened team, a team that looks frightened against the opposition, we will think, oh, actually, this is so now we see what's going to happen over the next few games. And that is, no one will look forward to that, because actually we would start that way against Fulham as well. And you start giving teams encouragement. I think we all know what the future holds there. So it is really important. No, I'm not confident at all, because I don't have confidence that he is going to have got himself motivated and refreshed in the last 2 weeks, which is what I feel he needed to do. We often talk about players like midway through the season going warm weather training and, going and getting a little break. Actually, I hope that Moyes actually took 3 or 4 days out of this. Actually, he could have left training to, a lot of the people. I in many respects, I hope he, whatever, I don't know. I hope he took his missus to warm weather training for 4 days. I've got a break. Do you know what I mean? Had a romantic breakaway, because I need him to come back refreshed with new ideas and actually just take himself away from it. If I thought he'd do that, I'd feel more confident, but I just don't know, and I don't have confidence that he will.
No, I'm not confident either. The one thing that gives me optimism is we're playing Wolves. At the end of the day, like I said, they've got a good squad, but they've got 1 win in 14 in the Premier League. We've got 2 wins in 14. Neither sets of fans are going into this one feeling confident or optimistic. Both sets of fans are going into this one really scrutinising their manager's decisions on Saturday evening, whether it's for good or for bad reasons. And I'm not confident, because I think we're going to see a must-not-lose David Moyes team on Saturday evening. I think if you were to offer both managers a draw at the minute, I think they'd probably be both inclined to take it. I think they'd think, oh yeah, I'll avoid the defeat, thank you. But that's how I believe. I hope I'm wrong. I hope Saturday we come out, we play good football and we get a win. At this point, I'll just take a scrappy. I don't care how we win on Saturday. I'll take the scrappiest 1-0 win ever. It'll do me, because when you're desperate, whether it's a cup competition or in a desperate situation in the league, anything will do, and we are in that situation. So anything will do, as far as I'm concerned, save the better football for once you're in a safer position in the league, kind of thing. Can I get any final words from yourself? Were you all important score prediction?
I like it. You bundled it all up together to save time on the video. Yeah. My all important score Oh, do you know what? Almost sounds like almost a nightmare result, isn't it?
I'm dreading this because
1-1. It's almost a nightmare result.
it just delays.
It does delay. It's exactly
we have
right.
the same conversation next week.
Yeah, we do. And there's not enough motivation. There's enough promise for David Moyes to think, I'll continue with this. There's not enough motivation for him to actually think, crap, I am in trouble here. My last words will be sort of mirroring what I already said. Look, this is David Moyes will not, because of what he's done at West Ham in the last 2 or 3 years, David Moyes will always get a job. All right, he really will. He's very, very employable. This is David Moyes' last chance to be at a club where he can play proper European football and where he's going to be able to go and spend and buy international players for £50 million. This is it. All right, it didn't quite happen for Man U. This is it now. You cannot go out on a whimper with Sunderland tactics on this. It's time for him to start acting like a European semi-finalist. It's time for him to start acting like a manager who's just spent 180 million. It's time for him to start acting like a manager who has got arguably 2, possibly 3 world-class players in his team. And he needs to start doing that now. And he needs to go out and he needs to send out attacking teams. And we need to see it from him. More importantly, his team need to see it. He needs to puff his chest out and get out there and sort it out. 2
managers under pressure. The difference is Wolves didn't have many players on international duty. I was trying to look at the team I think they'll play for the pitching video when I do what I think the opposition will do. And I was thinking, hang on a minute, he wasn't in international duty. He wasn't at international duty. He wasn't. I'm reading through and I thought, bloody hell. I think they only had about 4 or 5 away and they were all with Portugal. So I think there's a slight advantage for Wolves coming into this one in that regard, but I don't care. I'm past these excuses. I'm past this. Oh well, if only I had tough. If only you'd done something different from the start of the season, we probably wouldn't be in this situation. In this last week, we've had contrasting reports as to whether Moyes' job's safe or not. But one thing that we did get sort of unofficially told is the best person to get us out of this is David Moyes. So that would imply that the best person to get West Ham out of the relegation scrap is David Moyes. Well, let's see it then, because we're now in the bottom 3. Let's see the Moyes that's good enough to get us away from the bottom 3, and we can worry about if Moyes is good enough to get us into European football later on in the season. But for now, it's kind of Moyes just get us out of this bit so we don't have to worry about a relegation fight this season. Well, it starts Saturday. We've got to see something Saturday. And you said 1-1, we just said 1-1 delays everything. Well, it's also if we were to draw, how do you draw? Are you drawing it with a new attacking team with the new players in there and we're just a little bit unlucky? Or have you put out the same team and grinded out a 1-1? You could have 2 completely different setups and it's something you can only deal with hindsight. But for my score prediction, I'm not confident. So I'm going to say West Ham 0, Wolves 0. Both teams can't score a goal. So I'm going to say no. I think it's going to be a real poor game, which would be a shame because you've got 2 managers that should be fighting for the job in this one. So in theory, it should actually be an entertaining one. But I think we'll see 2 conservative teams put out on Saturday with a must-not-lose attitude about them both. But anyway, Gonzo, a bit of a doom and gloom preview, but thank you very much.
Oh, my pleasure. Honest preview, mate.
We'll be live at 4:25 on Saturday afternoon. So if you're going to the game, try and enjoy it. If you're not going, pop back to Ham's YouTube channel. Make sure you subscribe if you're new around here. Drop a like if you somehow enjoyed the preview. We'll catch you in a bit.